Good evening and welcome to this Tuesday, December 3rd, 2019 meeting of the Raymore Planning and Zoning Commission. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll call roll, and please make sure your microphone is lighted and speak into the mic for the record. Commissioner Wiggins.
Present.
Commissioner Armstrong.
Present.
Commissioner Bowie.
Present.
Commissioner Ackland.
Present.
Commissioner Fizer.
Present.
Commissioner Peterman.
Present.
Commissioner Urquia.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present.
And Commissioner Faulkner is present. We do have a quorum, and we have the entire commission here this evening. That's great. We have no personal appearances scheduled this evening. One item on the consent agenda, approval of minutes from our November 19th, 2019 meeting. And unless any of the commissioners have concerns with the minutes, I would either entertain a motion to accept consent agenda or to approve minutes from November 19th, 2019.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 19th, 2019 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
Second.
No, I'm hearing voices and seeing. Okay, so motion by Commissioner Urquia, second by Commissioner Bowie, I think. And that was, I believe, worded to accept minutes from the November 19th meeting, correct?
Yes.
All those in favor, raise a hand, please. Thank you. 9 in favor, none opposed, no abstentions. And we have nothing this evening under unfinished business, so that takes us rather quickly into new business, case 19026, the Westgate final plat, and I believe City of Raymore is the applicant. So Mr. Cataret, if you'd like to present this case to us, we're ready.
Thank you, sir. Typically, we do our final plats as consent agenda items, but this particular request, a little different than what you typically see in our subdivision phases that we regularly get. So I thought I would put this as new business, quickly go through a staff report to talk a little bit about the project itself. This particular plat is for acreage property that's actually north of 58 Highway, east of Kentucky Road. It's land area that lies north of the existing Firestone and Belfonte car wash. The current zoning of the property, it's currently a split zoning. The south half of this plat, which would actually be the Lot 4 area, is actually zoned C3 regional commercial, and then the and then Lot 1 would also be zoned the C3 commercial. The Lot 2 and Lot 3 would be zoned R1 single family residential. There's a total of four lots in the plat, and then the proposed right-of-way for what will be called Westgate Drive. Overall, the tract's a little over 27 acres in size. So the purpose of this plat was to establish the right-of-way that would be necessary for the city to build Westgate Drive, or relocated Kentucky as it was referred to for many years. And this is a proposed roadway segment that was included as part of the 2016 general obligation bonds that were approved by the voters. So I believe it's the last project of that bond issue for the city to complete. The right-of-way for the roadway and the curvature of the road that you see is really based on trying to have minimal impact on, there's an existing farm pond on the property, as well as not encroaching on any existing individual home sites that are along Kentucky Road. I do note that the roadway that we intend to construct, it would be a continuation of the stub road that provides access currently to the Firestone and Belfontes. That roadway width will continue north and actually narrow down as it makes its connection to the existing Kentucky Road. And then in the staff report, I gave an illustration, a copy of a drawing that was part of the construction plans that shows how Kentucky Road will actually align to the new West Gate. So we're trying to create a 90-degree intersection there by curving traffic that would be northbound on the existing Kentucky Road as it reaches the intersection with Westgate. So we'll actually have to make a little bit of a veer to the east to get onto the new Westgate. If you're traveling south on the existing Kentucky Road, you can continue south unobstructed, unstopped, all the way down to 58 Highway, but the design of the project will be to try to steer traffic to go onto Westgate to get down to the traffic signal. So I liken this intersection to the one on Madison Street by Harmon's. Very, very similar design. I want to note on this particular project, the sidewalk, which would be constructed on the east side of Westgate, and the trail segment on the west side of Westgate will be constructed as commercial lots get developed along the roadway. Engineering Division has approved the road design plans. The actual dedication of the right-of-way will be done through this plat. So this plat crosses through two different ownership groups. The Raymore Galleria LLC entity that developed all the Galleria is the owner of the southern commercial lot area. There'll be signatures on the plat, and then the Dean Family Trust owns the north half of this property, and there'll be signatories for the plat as well. When they sign the plat, that'll be, and we record this, that'll be the actual transfer of the right-of-way to the city of Raymore. I also want to note just briefly, not necessarily part of the plat, but where Westgate Drive will connect to 58 Highway currently at the traffic signal, there will be some, a little bit of change to that traffic pattern to create a dedicated left, dedicated right, and a through lane for southbound traffic there. Then, of course, right now there's no curb on that side of the street. It was always proposed to be widened there, and so this project will have curb placed there. And this project also includes a right turn lane on westbound 58 traffic to turn on to Westgate Drive. So in front of Firestone, basically where right now where Belfonte's touches 58 Highway, there'll be a turn lane to go northbound onto Westgate Drive as part of this project as well. So with this proposed plat, staff submitted findings of fact, as it is a final plat, and we do recommend that the commission accept those findings and forward this case onto the city council with a recommendation of approval. Mr. Rokos did provide the memorandum. They have reviewed the plat and the engineering drawings for the roadway and provide their recommendation of approval. And that concludes staff report on this item.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Carteret. Final plats don't require a public hearing, so the floor is open for questions, comments by the commission. Commissioner Wiggins.
Maybe I didn't see it, but standard curb and gutter roadway as opposed to like what we have out on county line where it's just road to ditch.
It's going to be a curb and gutter up to, I don't know how to describe it, up to the last curve, and then from the last curve, it's going to just be an open ditch connection to the current road, which is an open ditch. So,
Okay.
But from there south, it will be curb and guttered.
Okay, and then just from a curiosity standpoint for drainage purposes, is that the gutters, do they drain back into like lots 3 and 4 out into the farmland, into that farm pond, or what was kind of just the general water control?
So the water is going to travel southward, and there's 2 spots where it's going to exit into basically lot 3 and lot 4. And when it does it, that's actually a connection point where we believe the road is going to be, and there would actually be a connection to a storm sewer system in that property. And so it's set up to be connected to the development.
Thank you.
Mr. Carteret, was there any conversation with Belton about this project?
initially?
I'll start. There has been, yes, sir. But all of the work on this project, what you'll know, especially where the existing Kentucky connects to the new Westgate, is on the Raymore side of the roadway. So we've had discussions with the city, but at this point, all of the work being done is 100% within the city of Raymore limits. They're certainly aware, have seen the plans. There's no effect or impact on their portion of Kentucky Road.
Right. I guess my feeling, having driven through that area for like 40-plus years, my feeling was it would really be great to close Kentucky Road because, my opinion, that is a very dangerous intersection. I've seen all kinds of mischief there, and so I just kind of wondered, I assumed that somebody probably pursued that a little ways, and I also kind of guessed that Belton might not have taken too kindly to the idea of shutting that section of the road, but I wasn't sure.
There were discussions about that connection, and now, at this point, it's going, even when Westgate gets constructed, existing Kentucky will still have full access onto 58 Highway. The city will be, in 2020, doing a traffic study along the 58 corridor for many reasons, but one of them is to study that intersection to determine if that intersection should continue as a full access or should there be some type of restricted access there to allow left turn movements, but not left turn movements onto 58 Highway, so it'd be somewhat restricted. That'll all be studied in the year 2020. We have been holding off on that. We wanted to see the Cadence property develop, which it has, and it's been open for a few years. And wanted to see a little bit more development occur in this land area before we did the study, but we also know that the time is now. We need to look at traffic patterns on that roadway, and so we'll be doing that study probably early 2020.
Okay, that makes sense. Just for the record, the move that has caused me the most grief is someone eastbound on 58 wanting to turn left onto Kentucky and unfortunately not getting into the center lane. So they're turning left from the left-hand driving lane, and enough said. That's dangerous as all get out.
In my opinion, well, excuse me,
No,
if I
go
may.
ahead. You got it.
Kind of the same deal. I don't know if I'm loud here or what. I got to step back. But going southbound on Kentucky, trying to get on 58 is really tough. It's really dangerous too because there's so much traffic. So
Right.
I'm with you.
Well, and frankly, the connection through China Star over to, I'll call it Westgate Drive, is gorgeous. You just have to know it's there.
Yeah.
So, I think that step was a very positive step. Closing down one of China Star's driveways was a very positive step. I'm not in favor of necessarily radical change, maybe times, but this doesn't seem like one, but incremental change is good, and particularly that we're going to study it further. All right, Commissioner Wiggins.
Thank you. One more question of staff. Obviously, the right side is planned to be developed at some point in time. The west side of the road, it kind of jogs along a couple different residential lot lines. Is that just going to be native area, tree buffer, hopefully not just a weed wasteland? Have we put some effort into making sure that, A, the residents who back up to that don't have to look at just a barren pile of gravel, and B, that we have something that just kind of looks nice for people that are driving it?
The maintenance standards will have to change when that roadway goes in there. Of course, it's just tillable land now or pasture land. Once the roadway goes in, we have those remnant pieces on the west side of Westgate Drive. Until they're incorporated, until that area is redeveloped, there's just going to be small remnant pieces that'll have to be mowed. So we'll have to stay on both the Dean family and the Galleria 58 folks to actually mow that and not just let it go to hay or wasteland or whatever, however you want to have it. Yeah, it will have to be maintained. Of course, there'll be some, after construction, we'll have to go in and seed. We'll have some disturbance in those areas, but after it's seeded and that gets established, we'll make sure they maintain it.
Commissioner Arkia?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on that, you're when you're just saying there, so the remnant pieces that are left, those will still be owned by the people that have those homes currently? It'll just make their plats bigger, or how does, because you said it'll be on them to maintain it.
What we envision, so when you look at Lot 2, which is on the west side, that's still owned by the Dean Family Trust, which is separate ownership than the actual duplex lot that's there. So the Dean family will have to mow that portion of it. When we get to the Lot 4 area, that will maintain ownership by Raymore Galleria folks. Land further to the west is actually owned by Dean family representatives as well. So we'll have to have the Block family, a Block group, Galleria folks maintain that remnant piece. What we see long-term is that those remnant pieces will be incorporated into the existing homes. We don't foresee those homes staying there forever along Kentucky. And so as this Lot 3 and 4 develop commercially, it's likely then the interest will be on those remnant pieces and redeveloping those existing homes into viable commercial or office property. So eventually those remnant pieces will be incorporated into a buildable lot area.
Okay. And then to the east, West Long Boulevard, and then I'm not sure if that's the other one that's to the south that runs parallel along, that bump into Lot 3 and 4. Will those eventually, is the plan to eventually extend those into the other areas, or are those going to be dead ends into the commercial zone?
Those will be dead ends. Those are private roadways in the Foxwood Springs, and they will not want those connected through. So they will not be connected.
Okay. So even though there's a residential plan to the north, it won't connect along because of the Foxwood?
Yep, yes.
Okay. Will there be a road then running north and south along that, or no?
No. There's an existing underground high-pressure gas main along that property line of Foxwood Springs, so that'll prevent anything from being developed there as well. It'll just turn into a buffered landscaped area.
Okay.
Quick question about the
Yeah,
island.
Commissioner Bowie.
Thank you. The island, I'm struggling to find out where the island will be on the map on the very first page. Lot 1, 2, where are we looking at in terms of the island, the small island that's on our drawing? Or that was mentioned on number 4 on page 5?
At the top.
So where's that at on the big picture is what I'm trying to figure out.
It's actually right by Lot 2. So where the roadway curves and connects into the existing Kentucky Road on the plat drawing, the very northern part of Lot 2.
Has there been any studies or anything? I mean, islands have tended to be kind of an issue around Raymore, the one in Lucy Webb. Any studies or anything going on with that in terms of how that design feature was kind of picked and chosen?
Do you want to speak to that?
It's just a real standard low height island, and so it's nothing. It's not very big. I mean, this is less than half the size of a car, and it's mountable. So as you turn left, if a truck were to go up that way for some reason, you'd be able to drive over it. It's not. It's just for channelization. It's not. It's not like a high mountain curb in the middle of the road, and it's off to the side. So as you're traveling down Kentucky and going to Westgate, it's quite a ways away from you.
It's going to be kind of low feature, nothing highly visible, nothing that's going to...
No, it's just a small channelizer, just so you can see where the road comes up and you can see the split from the cars going southbound to the northbound, having to turn to go perpendicular to the road.
Okay. All right, that's it.
Any other questions, comments? Mayor Turnbull.
Having been involved in the initial talk on the roadway here, the Kentucky split was originally designed to stop there, and there wasn't there, and then you would have to have gone one way or the other. There was going to be like a triangular diversion there, And if you wanted to turn on Kentucky, if you were northbound on the new divert, you would have still had that opportunity. However, the emergency services departments for both fire and police, the Belton Police Department, felt that that would impede emergency traffic along Kentucky Road, and so it was redesigned like this to be to have ease access north and south on Kentucky for accessing those areas that were south of that particular intersection, since most of the police and fire would be coming from 163rd Street to service that area. So that's why it was redesigned that way, with the pretty much everything occurring east of the midline, which is in Raymore, so that it didn't affect Belton at all. And so that's why that's in there like that, because we originally upset the city of Belton a little bit with our original design.
Well, good
So
to know.
this one's been signed off by both cities.
Good to know. Thank you for that. Other questions, comments? Anybody brave enough to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept the staff proposed findings of fact and forward case 19026, the Westgate final plat, to City Council with a recommendation for approval.
That's second.
Commissioner Ackland? All right. Motion by Commissioner Kia, second by Commissioner Ackland to accept staff proposed findings of fact on case 19026 Westgate final plat and forward to City Council with a recommendation of approval. That sound right? Okay. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, raise a hand, please. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 9 in favor, none opposed, no abstentions. And thank you. That concludes new business and takes us to City Council report. Mr. Catterad, are you it this evening?
I will be it. I am not prepared, but I think I can remember what was on the last council agenda. Mayor hopefully could help me.
I don't know,
Here.
it was a big agenda.
It was a big agenda. It was. So a few projects of interest to the commission. So almost a year ago, the commission passed a recommendation on the Van Trust Industrial Development Project on rezoning of the land area down there at the North Cass Parkway I-49 interchange. But the review of that rezoning request to PUD never was considered by City Council, was put on hold under kind of a joint agreement with the city and the developer until they worked through questions that had arisen about financing for the project, et cetera. So it finally did make its way up to the council consideration. So what we did was we re-advertised, of course, to all the residents that were noticed of the Planning Commission public hearing, and there was, I think we sent out 150 notices for that meeting. So a lot of the Stonegate folks, of course, and put the signs out. New public hearing was held at the November 25th meeting of the City Council. And Council did, on first reading, approve that rezoning request 8-0. Also tied to that project was their request for incentives, their Chapter 100 request for tax abatement and incentives, which was also approved 8-0 by City Council. Another request, not directly tied to land use, but may be of interest to the council, the venue townhome project, the 204 units that Jake Lovelace was proposing. There was a Chapter 100 request for that development. It's not a tax abatement request. What it was a request specifically to establish a baseline per door assessment for the property. So what they didn't want to have happen over the years with the financing is have fluctuations of what the assessments would be. They wanted to be able to lock it in and do a gradual increase every 2 years, an inflationary increase every 2 years. So staff worked closely with the county assessor, giving them all the evaluations so they could do an evaluation and set a baseline assessment, what they would normally assess the property at. And that's what we assessed for a baseline. Every 2 years moving forward, that assessment amount will go up by 2%. So whether the assessments would normally go up or go down in the future for the next 20 years, their assessment baseline will always increase 2%. So in essence, it's still a 100% tax payment by the property owner to the school district, the fire district, the city. It just establishes that baseline for guaranteed purposes of what the taxes will be every year. So that was another request that was on the agenda. They approved the first reading of the Edgewater and Creekmore final plat. I think that was it for Planning and Zoning Commission agenda items.
Sound about right?
Yeah. There was a lot of discussion, excuse me, there was a lot of great discussion from the council during work session on those particular items. So a lot of the nuts and bolts of things were already lined out from the work session that we'd had the previous week. So it went very well when we discussed the Chapter 100s and the graduating cost process on the property valuation assessment. So it was a great meeting. There was a lot done in an hour and a half that I think we were surprised it moved along as well as it did, because I'm trying to remember what the other things were on the agenda.
The new city code.
Yeah, that was huge. The new city code was huge. This might help.
So that particular project, basically, for the first time since 2001, staff over the last 3 years have been doing a comprehensive review of city code, page by page, every chapter of city code, updating the code, and that was presented in its entirety to the council, first reading on the 25th, and they did approve that unanimously. They also accepted the public improvements for the Evanbrook 7th plat. This was a phase of Evanbrook that just sat undeveloped for many, many, many years. This is the extension of Sunset all the way down to the south property line of the city. You can't cross that line yet. It's not connected to Dutchman Acres yet, but hopefully that will happen sometime soon. The city needs to coordinate that effort with Cass County commissioners. But that project opens up 24 lots in that part of the city for single-family development. So that was an exciting project as well. I think that's it.
Okay, so that was city council report, right? And we'll roll right on into staff report, Mr. Cataract.
Thank you, sir. Upcoming meeting, December 17th. We do have a few items on the agenda. We have a public hearing scheduled for a request for a conditional use permit. This is by a local group of individuals that want to create a indoor recreational facility at the 500 South Lincoln Avenue, which is basically at the corner of Sunrise Drive and J Highway, Lincoln Avenue. It's an existing industrial building that they would like to convert into indoor recreational space. The reason, which is a permitted use, the property is owned light industrial, so the indoor recreational activity is permitted there. What they're asking the conditional use permit for is there's a vacant lot on the south side of the building that they want to do an outdoor soccer recreational field. Outdoor recreation requires a conditional use permit, which makes sense. The idea of why we do that is it really is dependent on location. So if there's residential areas near an outdoor recreational area, we want to have that neighborhood to have some notice, some input on outdoor recreation happening, close to their neighborhood. And in that instance, the Morning View neighborhood is right across Sunrise Drive. So we have scheduled that for a public hearing on the 17th. We also anticipate to see the site plan for the Hy-Vee coming before the council, or the commission, as well as the final plat to create the one lot and the two streets that would provide access for the Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh store. Tentatively, we also have scheduled a site plan for Compass Health. We're still awaiting the revised plans that staff provided comments on. So if they get those to us by Friday, that item will be on the agenda as well. So But several items to look at it on December 17th. We do not have anything scheduled yet for the January meetings of the commission. So that's the upcoming meetings. One other item I do want to announce this evening is that we have gone through the selection process for our city planner, and we have offered, and the individual has accepted to be our new city planner. This individual, her name's Katie Jardot. Katie currently works for the city of Overland Park as a planner. She has about 4 years of experience as a planner. She worked for a suburb similar to Raymore in the Nashville, Tennessee area. But she's local to the Kansas City area, graduated from Kansas State, undergraduate, and they got her master's in planning from Nebraska, and an outstanding individual. So we were really pleased we were able to offer her the position, and she's very excited to come work for us. She'll be able to come in and step right in. Won't be a whole lot of learning curve other than learning Raymore's codes and about Raymore, but she's an experienced planner and excited to have her on board. She will start with us January 6th. So when you meet in January, she'll be here along my side, and eventually she'll take over Planning and Zoning Commission meetings for us. So that concludes my end of the staff report. Turn it over to Mr. Rokos.
Mr. Rokos.
Well, he basically took a couple of my things I was going to mention, because we have been reviewing plans for Edgewater 7th. We just received the street lighting, so this last bit of infrastructure plans on it. And we have received the plans for the Hy-Vee Fresh and, what is it called, Fresh and Fast? Fast and Fresh, sorry. And so we're doing the final review of those plans so it can come to the Planning Commission. And I know someone mentioned it, but Prairie View has been under construction, but I think it's pretty much going to be stopped now until spring. Weather's pretty much caught up to us. And but that subdivision has utilities all placed into it and streets graded, so in the spring they'll be able to finish the grading, put curbs in, and pave the streets down there. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah. Questions? All right. That concludes staff report. I'd open the floor for public comment. And seeing no public, let's move on to commission member comment.
I got a quick question.
Sure, Commissioner Bowie.
Oh, well, thank you. What's currently housed at that building on Lincoln? And it's going to be, they're going to have a conditional use permit?
It was Russell Carding.
Okay. Okay. All right. I was just curious. I didn't know what was there.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm not sure where to start. Commissioner Wiggins, can I pick on you first?
Yeah, absolutely. No real comment. Thank you, staff, for everything you all do. Everybody have a great rest of your week.
Yeah. Vice Chair Pfizer.
I don't actually have any comment. No comment today.
All right. Commissioner Armstrong.
Oh, just want to thank everybody. I am moving, and so this will be my last meeting, and I appreciate staff's work and the support of everybody over the time I've been here. Shreveport.
Okay. Congratulations. Commissioner Ackland.
I don't have any comments. Just want to say thank you again, once again, staff, for an outstanding job.
Thank you. Secretary Peterman.
Congratulations on hiring someone to replace David. Big shoes to fill there, so anyway, thanks, staff.
Yeah. Let's see. Commissioner Urquia.
Just wanted to say that I was able to attend the ribbon cutting at the Benton House today on their newly expanded facility, the expanded area. It blended right in with the original piece. Still smelled new, but I know they mentioned they were super excited to get their occupancy certificate so that they could start moving people in. But it was a very well done, I think, expansion to that piece, and So I'm excited to see that growth there, and I know that's part of, you know, our city, and so it was exciting to see. And then Commissioner Armstrong, pleasure serving with you. I know you took the time to review what we were going to be covering, and you always came prepared, and I appreciate that. And you'll be missed.
Thank you. Commissioner Bowie.
Second those thoughts about Commissioner Armstrong. Glad to have you. Good luck in your new endeavors. Going to a pretty good place down there in Shreveport. Thank you all. No further questions or comments besides that. We appreciate it.
Okay. Mayor Turnbow.
Just one thing, at the work session that we had last night, there was a lot of talk about the assessed valuation of our community growing and our ability to do a no tax increase bond issue with that we're considering for putting on a ballot in April. Just to let you know, most of it deals with infrastructure. There's about $6 million worth of parks projects, and the rest of it, up to about $23.1 million, is all infrastructure, roads, improvements, and things like that. So we're really excited about the opportunity to do a lot of work around the city with a no tax increase bond issue. A lot more coming on that. I'm not sure, you probably look at could you look at the work session and see those projects on the green, yellow, and red?
I don't think the packet did not include that, but
Yeah,
I know
I don't think it
shortly
did.
we'll have that information out.
Yeah, because the council's going to be, they gave direction to go ahead to Todd Goffey, our financial advisor for bond issues like that, to go ahead and prepare an ordinance for the two, because there'll have to be two issues, one for parks and one for the city with regard to the infrastructure that the community would have to consider. But there's a lot going on that April ballot as well from other communities. And the county's got a couple of things going up. The library's got a levy increase going on that April ballot. So there's going to be a lot to consider at that time frame. So more will come out about how that's broken down. Some of the major projects or a partial assistance for the I-49, 58 highway, I-49 widening 58 highway bridge, but that would be just a portion of what we would contribute to, what is it now, about $68 million project? Yeah, I think so. They brought it down a little bit from 72 million to 68 or something around that. That would put 3 lanes of 49 all the way down to North Cass Parkway, and would put 10 lanes on the bridge with a one large, it's that diverging diamond thing with one large. In fact, Greg did a YouTube, connected a YouTube video to that we could watch the other day. It was kind of an interesting traffic pattern, but it's definitely needed for economic development in our area in that 58 highway corridor. And then we'll work to Ward Road, work to Kurzweil, just a plethora of things that this community is going to need for its continued growth and transportation issues to advance it. So I'll let that plan itself explain itself when it does come out for you to read, because there's a lot there to chew on, but I'd kind of hit some of the highlights there. And then also wanted to thank Commissioner Armstrong for her service to the community. We appreciate you stepping up. Volunteer boards are always hard for us to fill with quality people, and you certainly have been one, so I appreciate your service. And that's all I have, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Turnbow. So I know I'm going to repeat a few things. Mr. Cataret, it's certainly been a pleasure having you back full-time with Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm sure we will miss you, but I'm sure we will see you from time to time. Mr. Rokos, thank you. We appreciate your support. Commissioner Armstrong, I really can't say it any better, but thank you for your time on the commission. I hope you've found it as interesting as we other commissioners have. It's always fascinating, and since we have the full commission in attendance this evening and Mayor Turnbow, I simply say thank you to all of the commission. And Mr. Mayor, I think, those of us who have lived in Raymore for a while and watched all of the changes, and hopefully we're guiding the future in a direction that we will continue to enjoy. And that's probably enough for me, so unless anyone has anything to add, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Okay.
Second?
Motion by Commissioner Armstrong, second by Commissioner Peterman to adjourn. All those in favor, raise a hand, please. And it's 9 in favor, none opposed, no abstentions. Thank you all very much.